As the host of this summit, President Macron made the threat to the Amazon rainforest one of the central themes of the gathering. His final round table was noticeable for the absence of the US president. And as they met to agree a package that would see millions of pounds of aid made available, he first had to bring to order the British Prime Minister with a call which showed a degree of knowledge of the UK parliamentary system.
Order. Boris, order.
At his press conference afterwards, the President emphasised the significance of the decision the summit had taken.
First and foremost, I'd like to announce that we will make available 20 million euros to the Amazon countries who have told us of their needs. France will also bring concrete military support to the region in the coming hours.
Boris Johnson promised £10 million to help reforest the Amazon, but said much more needed to be done.
If we don't act now, our children and our grandchildren will never know a world with the Great Barrier Reef or the Sumatran tiger or the black rhino.
But inevitably, he was asked about G7 attitudes towards Brexit.
You talk to our friends, as I have done in the last few weeks, and they are very enthusiastic about getting on with the future. They regard Brexit now as an encumbrance, an old argument. They want to talk about the new partnership that we're going to build. They want to talk about ways in which we can work together, as I said, not just on trade, but on security, on defence, on all kinds of things. And I think it's time that we in the UK started to think about all the ways in which we can think of a post-Brexit Britain.
For Boris Johnson, you might just make him out on the far left of this family photograph. It was his first big outing on the world stage. He may look as if he's on the fringe here, but it's been a hectic round of high-level diplomacy. After promising noises on an international trade deal with the USA yesterday, he was glad handing it with Japan's leader today and making clear his intentions on Brexit.
As soon as we've got Brexit done, which will be on October the 31st, as I don't tire of telling people in the UK, I want to make sure that we come to Japan. That would be something that you would welcome.
So that was his first overture to Japan. He also met the leader of the world's largest democracy, but with Narendra Modi, he was more circumspect about what they discussed.
Talk about those in a minute when these guys are gone.
Making friends and influencing people also involved a handshake with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Then, on a brighter note,
I'm going to congratulate you on the Ashes.
No, we're not there. We're not
Two to go.
We're not taking anything for granted.
Two to go.
It was a hell of a meeting.
A meeting with the Australian Prime Minister and an acknowledgement that England won a spectacular victory against the Aussies in yesterday's cricket match. No doubt Boris Johnson is hoping for as big a win in any future trade negotiations. Downing Street will be pleased with this first high-profile venture abroad, but Boris Johnson will face tougher challenges ahead when MPs return to Westminster after their summer break in a week's time.
Well, President Trump wrapped up his appearance at the summit with a lengthy press conference covering everything from his strategy on trade with China to relations with Iran. And he even found time to promote one of his properties in Florida as the venue for next year's G7. Let's go live now to Danny Isdale, who's in Washington for us. Danny.
Well, it is the turn of the USA to host the next G7. So upon leaving this G7, Donald Trump shared an idea he has for a good location, one of his own properties, a golf resort in Miami. He said no other location could possibly come close, and when asked whether there's a concern he would profit from that arrangement, he said, "It's not about me, it's about finding the very best place." He also said he's open to making it a G8 again by inviting President Vladimir Putin of Russia. That is interesting, particularly in a 2020 campaign year when Russia remains accused of interfering in US elections. The line between friends and enemies can sometimes appear blurred with President Trump, but in France this week he has solidified one friendship in particular, and that is with Boris Johnson. He said he will make a great Prime Minister and that he's been waiting for him to get the job for 6 years.
Boris is different. It's a different kind of a deal. Boris has to try and do something with Brexit. It's very tough. I deal with the EU. The EU that's a very, very strong group of people. They have their ideas, And they're not easy to deal with, I will tell you. We're very close to making a deal, by the way, with the EU. I have to say this. We made a great deal with Japan, and we're very close to maybe making a deal with the EU.
So, Danny, we know Iran's foreign minister was also at the G7. Any chance of Javad Zarif crossing paths with Donald Trump?
Well, President Trump said no, but he also made sure that he wanted all of us to understand that he knew at all times that the Iranian foreign minister would be attending and had been invited to Biarritz. What is more interesting, I think, though, is that now he's making noises that he would be more open to a meeting.
If the circumstances were correct or the right, I would certainly agree to that. But in the meantime, they have to be good players. You understand what that means. And they can't do what they were saying they're going to do, because if they do that, they're going to be met with really very violent force. We have no choice. I didn't think it was appropriate to meet yesterday, too soon, and things have to be worked out first. But President Macron told me exactly what was happening, who was coming, what time they were coming, where they were going to meet. And after the meeting, he told me exactly what happened.
President Macron is now aiming to arrange such a meeting in the coming weeks between President Trump and President Rouhani. That is no small thing. There has been no meeting between American and Iranian leaders since before the 1979 Iran hostage crisis. President Trump also so often so critical of the way that Iranian assets were unfrozen as part of the nuclear deal. Well, now he seems open to considering supporting a short-term line of credit or a loan to Iran secured by oil. And that is certainly a long way from his current position and the sanctions that he's been imposing to now.